Welcome to the Smart HVAC Marketing Podcast, the podcast for HVAC contractors who are ready to quit screwing around and begin growing their business. Powered by Rival Digital. On this show, you'll hear from industry leaders and become equipped with the tools and knowledge you need to build a world-class business. Now, here's your host, Eric Thomas.
I'd like to give a shout out to the person on Fiverr who I paid $20 for that intro. Fiverr's awesome.
Good price.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. My name is Eric Thomas. I'm the host of the Smart HVAC Marketing Podcast. And today we are joined by Richard Kohberger from ServiceTitan. Before we get going, some of you may know him as the Blue Collar Nerd. I've heard that is quite the series on their YouTube channel, and I've watched some of your videos. And Richard, I want you to go ahead and give us your famous intro that you give to everyone when you start your videos.
Okay, yeah. What's going on, everybody? It's Richard Kohberger here, the Blue Collar Nerd.
That's awesome. That's like the key. I feel like I've been really battling with this for like the past few weeks about finding a calling card, something that I start every episode with. I've kind of gone back and forth on some different things. So
you just got to let it flow from you. I have no idea where that came from. That's just what happened the first time I turned the camera on, and I stuck with it.
That's awesome. Well, Richard, thanks for joining us today on the show. We're super excited to dive into some more stuff about ServiceTitan and video and all that great stuff. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for our listeners out there and tell them a little bit more about your role at ServiceTitan.
Sure. So my name is Richard Kohberger. I got started with ServiceTitan in kind of a unique way. So I was actually a ServiceTitan user. My dad owns a shop out here in the Atlanta area. And I worked with him for many years. I started off when I was in college, just riding along with somebody over the summers as like kind of an assistant technician, just kind of learning the trade. And then I was a technician, on my own for a while. That didn't last particularly long because of the everything about me. So I moved into the office and started kind of getting my hands on more and more stuff. Started with just like organizing the warehouse and getting things labeled and kind of getting a basic inventory system in place, and just kind of looking around and seeing where I felt like I could provide some value and help kind of get things a little bit more structured, organized, automated. So more and more my job became ServiceTitan related. I eventually was the director of operations. And so I started making YouTube videos. It's always been something I wanted to do. I'm a video guy, and I'm an actor. I've been in a few things, and I was into acting. I studied film in college, and so I wanted to kind of like merge these two things. I was like, I have a kind of a weird skill set where I can be on camera. I can make videos, and I also know a lot about this really niche software, and I had a lot of opinions about it and a lot of things I wanted to say, and a lot of ways I felt like I could help bridge a communication gap between ServiceTitan and its users. So I started just making YouTube videos about not just ServiceTitan, but technology in general in the trades. But the ServiceTitan videos were really what took off. And eventually that led me to where I am now, which is as an official ServiceTitan employee, making videos that go on their official YouTube channel. And I also help as an industry advisor. So kind of advising on product and helping guide what direction things should go.
That's awesome. So did you take down your old YouTube channel when you switched over?
Did not. It's still up, and I still post there occasionally. I just put a new video up there yesterday, in fact. So that was one of the good things about the whole relationship that made me feel like it was a promising thing. Was a lot of my early videos were critical. I was going on there saying, "Hey, ServiceTitan, love you. Here's some things that you kind of suck at right now." And when we started talking about me going onto that team and forming a more official relationship, they never asked me to take any of that down or to amend any of those opinions. And that to me was a good sign, because what I wanted to do was take all of those opinions and start pushing them internally.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so when you started there, I guess naturally they wanted you to keep going with the with the videos for the ServiceTitan YouTube channel. So were you the blue collar nerd before going over to ServiceTitan, or did that kind of come about once you got there?
Yeah, Blue Collar Nerd was kind of my branding. So that was what the original channel was called, still is called. If you just look up Blue Collar Nerd, you'll see that YouTube channel. That's my personal YouTube channel where I still post occasionally. And I still, when I make a video for ServiceTitan, I still introduce myself as the Blue Collar Nerd, just because that's what people kind of already knew me as.
That's cool. So yeah, let's dive into the into Marketing Pro for a little bit. ServiceTitan's really expanded over the past couple of years. And they're very smart for doing so in ways similar to how you got about being there. And they've expanded really by, finding the right people, the right products out there, and then, either creating it themselves or, merging or bringing it in or something like that. And so it's seen a lot of growth. And one of the things that, a lot of marketers out there, a lot of contractors are getting themselves into is the Marketing Pro platform. So I'd love to talk about that for a little bit. What are some of for someone out there listening who's maybe never been on ServiceTitan and might be considering it, or maybe they are on ServiceTitan considering Marketing Pro, give us a rundown of all of its capabilities.
Yeah, so Marketing Pro is an ever expanding piece of the product. It's kind of got three legs to it as it stands today. So email marketing is leg number one. That's the first piece of it that came out. And therefore the most mature right now. There's also reputation management, which kind of takes your online reputation, all of your listings for Google and Yelp and all of the places online where you're listed, brings all of those consolidated into one place for you to manage and reply to reviews and things like that. That also incorporates ways to help you get you more reviews, sending out review requests, helping funnel those review requests so you can set rules where, hey, if this person leaves me a 3-star review or worse, just send that to me internally and let's handle it, versus if they send me a 5-star review, then offer all of these places where they can go and post that. So that's reputation management. There's also direct mail, which I believe is the newest piece of it. So you can send out, postcards and actual direct mail pieces to your customers.
Yeah, I know that SMS is coming soon. I'm not sure when that launches, but I have been seeing that it is coming. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, that is in the works. That is in the works. I don't have any extra information as far as dates or anything I can give you, but it is in the works.
Cool. Well, awesome. So when it comes to Marketing Pro, what are some strategies or some campaigns that you've seen in the past that have worked really, really well for contractors?
Yeah, I mean, there's Marketing Pro kind of gives you some ideas to start with, some basic campaign types, like estimate follow-up is a big one. Just making sure that your internal people ideally should be touching base and following up in a more proactive way. But it's also important to have this automation set up so that worst case scenario that that you have at least that touch point, that you're not just absolutely leaving the money on the table. So estimate follow-ups is a big one for sure. Stuff like aging equipment, you can set rules to say like, hey, when this person's equipment gets to be 8 years old or older, start sending them some kind of replacement focused type of marketing tactics. We miss you, people who haven't had a job with you in a long time, send them some sort of maybe a special offer or some sort of piece just to say, hey, we haven't seen you. It's been a couple of years, maybe you should get your stuff checked out. So those are some of the basics that are kind of built in. There's so much you can do with it though, because you can build out custom audiences. And there's so many pieces that you can pull in there. For example, maybe I come from the world of HVAC. So like maybe we sold a UV lamp for indoor air quality to kind of kill mold on that evaporator coil. And maybe that UV lamp needs to be replaced every 2 years. Well, I can set up an audience to everybody that includes everybody who's purchased that UV system from me. And I can say, 2 years from that purchase date, send them this reminder email so that they remember that they need to have us out to have that bulb replaced. Same thing with like maybe filter replacements or anything like that. If a warranty is coming up on ending, you can set up a custom audience to say, hey, everybody whose warranty is going to expire within the next 3 months, send them this email. That's a foot in the door. That's like, hey, your warranty is about to expire. Make sure you get your stuff checked out so it's still under warranty. but maybe they have 2-3 other systems that aren't under warranty. That's a foot in the door there. So there's a ton of stuff you can do. It's just a matter of how creative you can get.
Yeah, I think the follow-up emails are very effective. I know anybody who's ever worked in a CSR role or a sales job or any type of role where you're interacting with several people a day, following up with them, it's so hard. It's easy to forget about it. It's easy to go 3 days without contacting someone, especially after you just, offered them an estimate and maybe they say, no, not right now. And then, or you give it to them and they don't answer you. And it's easy to go 3 or 4 days without saying anything and then you forget about it. So I think that estimate follow-up is pretty solid. I like that one for sure. I also just like the email capabilities in general, just being able to send the automated emails where it just continues to send to them until they either open it or book a job. Those ones I've seen work pretty well.
Yeah, the automation is definitely the most beautiful piece of it. Setting up automated campaigns, I mean, those continue to pay you dividends, depending on what kind of campaign it is, potentially just in perpetuity. You just forget that you ever even set it up, but you still make revenue off of that campaign that you set up maybe years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Richard, I know that, like you were saying, you kind of got, you went to school for film. You did a lot of YouTube stuff. That's how you ended up with ServiceTitan is through the video stuff. And video is very important right now. I think that, and there's obviously a reason why we record this live and to put onto YouTube and Facebook. And we take this recording and we turn it into a million little pieces that go everywhere because video is the way to go. That's where people's attention's at right now. So I'd love to chat about video for a few minutes if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right. So what's some advice that you would give to a contractor out there who wants to begin making video but has no clue where to start?
My number one piece of advice would be don't try to know everything first, just start. That's really the biggest barrier to entry is people's minds of like, well, I don't have the right equipment, or I don't have the right kind of personality to be on camera, or I don't know what to shoot. Just start. If you've got one of these, you've got enough equipment to get going. And that's all that it takes. Modern smartphones are amazing cameras, and just getting content out there is more important than worrying about is the lighting perfect, is the sound perfect. All of those things you can develop with time. My very first Blue Collar Nerd video was shot on my cell phone, balanced on a stack of pallets. I didn't even have a tripod or anything. No microphone, sounded terrible. But it got me started. That's just the most important thing is putting stuff out there. And then you start to get feedback and you kind of learn what's working, what's not, what directions you can take. My number two piece of advice is don't try to use video as purely direct sales. People don't want to watch commercials. So you have to provide them some sort of value, whether that is entertainment value, whether that is, homeowner tips, but some sort of value. You have to look at it from the perspective of a homeowner and say, why would they want to spend their time, their valuable time, watching this piece of content? Is it entertaining? Is it funny? Is it satisfying? I think plumbers have some great content there, because watching a drain get unplugged and all of the water finally just like run down that drain, so satisfying to watch. You don't have to say anything, just film that and put it on TikTok or YouTube or wherever, and people will watch it just because of the fact that it's like satisfying to watch. Pulling a big old nasty root that was clogging up a pipe, super satisfying to watch. So just film that. Yeah,
I completely agree with you. I think the hardest part is just starting with something. I feel like anyone who's started a vlog or a blog or a podcast or anything in the past could agree that just starting was the hardest part. And usually the first few go arounds were not very good. I mean, if I go back and listen to the first episodes of these podcasts, I would probably cringe because, I was recording in GarageBand and I had like a $20 microphone from Amazon. And so it's just one of those things where you have to just like learn through trying. So once they get going, they've got, they've been shooting videos on their phone and just not afraid to get in front of the camera anymore. What's maybe some small, inexpensive upgrades they could make to enhance the quality of the video content that they create?
The first thing I would start with is a microphone. That's the number one thing that's going to give you away if you're shooting on a smartphone is the audio quality, purely because the microphone on a phone is in the phone. It's on board on this device. And so when you have the camera anywhere besides right here, which is obviously not how you're going to shoot a video, just like if the camera's right and super close to your face and you're just like showing them your freckles. So you have to have the camera farther back, and that means that the microphone is farther away from you. And that means that you sound far away and you sound more echoey, and it just doesn't sound as good. That's the first thing that's going to give you away for shooting on a phone. The only thing that's going to give you away for shooting on a phone. So the first thing you can do is get a lavalier microphone, something that clips on. Here's a lavalier microphone. This is a wireless one that I use. This is a pricey one. You don't need something this pricey, but if you're interested, this is a Rode Wireless Go 2. But you can just get a basic wired one that plugs directly into the Lightning port or the USB-C port on your phone, depending on what kind of phone you have. Clip that onto your shirt. Now the microphone is very close to you, and you're going to sound a lot better.
Yeah. I've got one of those. It's a wired one. I think I got it at Best Buy for $25. I mean,
a wired lavalier microphone is very inexpensive, and the sound quality is drastic.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's definitely not like the best in the world, but it's way better than without. And I think the good thing about the wire is that it was like 6 feet long. So it's not like, you're hung up on one of these tiny little like 2-foot cords. I was able to set the tripod like farther away. So definitely agreed there. I think the wired ones are pretty solid because they are so cheap. There's been a huge uptick in people doing video, like we were saying, and it's really taken over, places like TikTok and YouTube. Do you think that TikTok is a feasible avenue for contractors to go for video content, to put out video content into the world?
I do, if you have the right mindset about it and the right expectations. So I think a lot of people think of social media and video as direct. I'm going to put this out here and it's going to convert into revenue this way. And that's not the way to think about this sort of thing, in my opinion. For certain social media, like direct call to actions, sure. But that's not what I'm talking about here. When you're filming, that guy pulling a root out of a pipe, it's not going to directly convert into a job. It's branding. Mm-hmm. It's just putting your face, your name, your content out into the world. And if you grow that and put it out enough and stay consistent with it, it can result in name recognition for you, and it can result in revenue for you. I mean, there's a YouTuber, his name's Roger Wakefield, plumber. Does tremendous on YouTube, has a pretty large YouTube channel, one that puts mine to shame. But he's doing less niche work. He's just talking about plumbing in general and just talking about what's interesting about plumbing. And his audience includes tons of people who are never going to purchase from him, mm-hmm. but he doesn't care because tons of people who are going to purchase from him also watch. And he's talked about, how, he goes to his customers now and they all treat him like a celebrity because they've seen his videos.
Yeah.
It matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting because, you first think about like TikTok or a YouTube channel or something, and a lot of contractors, like you were saying, they want to think about how much money is this going to make me, or how many leads am I going to get from this? But it is a mindset thing. You have to be able to understand that, like, okay, this video that I'm sharing of me making breakfast for my team on the Blackstone griddle in the shop is not going to get me 4 install leads, but people are going to engage with it. Our employees might engage with it, and it'll show off your culture some. It'll build that brand.
That's a recruiting tool.
Yeah. So you can get a recruiting tool out of it. So yeah, there's a lot of other, I guess, more compounding value to stuff like that.
Yeah.
So in regards to some of the content that you create now, what's some of the inspiration behind it? What's some of the, I guess, the thought process behind it and the goals with it?
I'm always just trying to provide value. I keep an eye on the Facebook groups, both, the ServiceTitan Masterminds group, which is kind of the main, ServiceTitan group. But then there's also other, industry groups that I always keep an eye on and see what are people talking about? What are people asking about? What are the questions that I see come up often? If this is the third time I've seen this question, it's probably worth a video.
Mm-hmm.
And I always try to make my videos have some sort of entertainment value, because it's really easy to make this super dry and boring.
Yeah.
One of the things I do, for example, is every month ServiceTitan comes out with some new release, and they release notes to tell you what's new with that release. And I make a video going over the release notes. That could be a really boring video, right? So I always try to throw in some jokes, throw in some fun editing. One video has a random like dance rave in it where I'm so excited about a feature. Just throwing something in there to make it not the most boring thing in the world to watch.
Yeah, there's a furniture company in Bowling Green, Kentucky that I used to see on television when I was in college, and you would think like a mattress place would just be not super fun to advertise for. Like, we sell beds, but this guy had the most animated personality, and his Facebook videos and his commercials always were raved because he was just so animated. He had like this puppet that he had made of himself, and like, so they made a whole personality out of this guy, really. And he was selling beds, he was selling mattresses, which in the eyes of the traditional marketer would be like maybe not such a fun thing to talk about, but he made it work just because he created a personality around it.
Yeah, for sure. And when you say that, like, what I worry about sometimes is people hear that and they think, well, I don't have that personality, or I'm not funny, or I'm not comfortable being on camera. And so they just rule out that this is an option for them. That's not true. Even if you don't want to be on camera, you don't have to be the person. Somebody in your company, it probably would love to be involved in something like this. And if not, you can hire out. But that doesn't, just because you personally don't feel like you're a camera person, first of all, that might not be true. I would actually validate that. I would at least try, put yourself out there, see how people respond. You might be right. Not everybody's, meant to do it. If you're right, there's somebody who will.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of being a camera person and getting in front of the camera, are you still acting?
So I have a talent agent, and a lot of the roles are self-tape these days. That's not even just a COVID thing. It's even more so since COVID. But even before that, they mostly just kind of, the agent sends you an email that says, hey, this is the role. Here's the sides, the scripts basically. And you tape it at home and you send it in. So I'm sending them in. It's very competitive. I'm in the Atlanta area. Atlanta's kind of the new LA right now.
Oh, really?
They had some, tax incentives basically recently that brought a lot of the film industry over here. They built out some sound stages, studios, and things like that. So it's extremely competitive.
Wow, that's cool. Well, I hope that I hope it keeps going well for you, and
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've personally been enjoying watching your videos on the ServiceTitan YouTube channel. I hadn't really seen any of them until we met at Service World. Again, I think this is like the 8th episode in a row where I've met someone at Service World and then ended up recording a podcast with them. So right afterwards, I was talking to someone at the ServiceTitan booth, and they were like, "Oh yeah, he's the blue collar nerd. You got to check him out." And then that night, I think I said in the Airbnb, and I was just like watching all the videos, and I was like, "This is awesome. These are really cool videos," and they were getting a lot of views too, which is always good. So before we begin wrapping up here, Richard, what's some final advice that you would give for contractors starting off who are either looking to maximize their marketing efforts on Marketing Pro or through video?
Yeah, I would first say, assess where you're at and assess where your problems are. I think for a lot of, especially smaller companies who don't have dedicated marketing people or who are hiring out, but maybe need a little bit more help, automation is your friend, right? That's where, in my opinion, Marketing Pro really shines, is the automation. You can set things up, and as soon as people start meeting those rules, they get the email, they get the postcard, whatever it is. Look at, not even just in marketing, everywhere in your company, where can I take a task and automate it? And then I would start moving into more of the branding stuff and thinking about, okay, what do we do here that's interesting? What do we provide here that could be interesting to average homeowners, even people who aren't average homeowners who are, renting right now, but eventually one day they'll have a home. And just start thinking about what kind of content you want to produce, whether you want to be the one on camera. And again, just get started. I mean, I can't say that enough. It's always the sticking point is just hitting record and posting something. It was the sticking point for me. I mean, I had the idea of this Blue Collar Nerd channel literally years before I actually posted something. So just hit record. Don't worry too much about it. Nobody's judging you that much. The worst case scenario is that nobody sees it anyway, which is not the worst consequence in the world, right? So just hit record, just put something out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with the automation piece in particular. Zapier is your best friend. If you don't know who Zapier is, you need to get to know them because
yes, definitely look into
awesome.
Zapier. I've got a whole playlist on the ServiceTitan channel about Zapier. ServiceTitan integrates with Zapier. If this is the first time you're hearing about it, definitely look into it. Especially if you're a little bit more of a techie person and like to kind of get in the weeds and really customize things, that's where Zapier really shines.
Yeah. Man, Zapier literally powers like this entire operation I got going here. Like all the emails that you got beforehand before this podcast, that was Zapier just creating different automations. I almost said automations where it's like, I mean, we were writing like custom JavaScript on these things that it like scrapes the calendar event and pulls the details into an email.
All right, you got really into it. I like that.
Sends it on behalf of someone else. Yeah, it's pretty intense. So, but that's just some of the capabilities, and like those are more advanced, and there's much more simple ones that people don't even know about, like just very simple automations with Zapier that could really be a game changer for your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, Richard, I appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day to join me on the podcast. Before we get going, what's a good way for anyone out there listening right now to get in touch or connect with you?
Well, I'm always posting on the ServiceTitan YouTube channel. Be sure to check that out and hit subscribe, hit the little bell icon. That way you'll get a notification anytime we upload something. Same thing with my personal channel, which is Blue Collar Nerd. If you really like me for some reason, I don't know what's wrong with you, but I've also got a like very personal channel, just my name, Richard Kohberger, where I upload stuff totally not related to the industry. But if you really wanted to follow me, you could subscribe there as well. Otherwise, you can follow my Facebook page, Blue Collar Nerd. And if you want to get in touch, you can send me a message there. I'm to be honest, not perfect about always getting back to everybody in a timely manner. I do my best.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Richard, thank you so much for joining me. And I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Bye-bye.